definitely incredible. There comes a time in a young man's life after he has left home where everything was predictable and constrained and boring, when the world opens up again, like back when he was 4 or 5 years old. You're on your own at last. You've left for college. This was back when it was thought you could improve yourself by going to college. You've left for college and the world is new. Every little thing is a fire truck. I drove to college with a buddy. We took the back roads in a 4-day trip in the 60s across the center of the country to what, in a later era, Kojak called Fruit and Nut Land, California. We were driving a well-used, family-bequeathed with compensation, sky blue Dodge Dart. Everything we saw, from the Get Right with God barn signs in the Virginia Panhandle to the 4-inch thick rope used to pull the ferry across the big rivers at Caruthersville, everything was judged by us to be, as we clearly stated at the time, incredible. We uttered this word repeatedly, exhilaratedly, sometimes multiply in beholding the same sight on the same, say, succession of mountain road switchbacks in the Smokies foothills. Somewhere in Kansas, the various big sky cloud formations and abject flat distances were judged to be not only incredible, but definitely incredible. Incredible just didn't seem to do it anymore, have the impact, didn't seem to exhibit the power of exclamation required. The post-danger alarm at the side of a farm tractor backing out onto the highway without looking, once we had passed, would provoke a definitely incredible, with a pronounced accent on the def, fading into a near inaudible mumble of the formerly isolated incredible ending. Definitely incredible. The unconsidered pattern of parked sporty two-toned Chevys and beat-up old F-100 pickups on the gravel outside a country road strip club. The sight of something like that, the implications of it, brought an explosive def on the front, sometimes with a comeback of accent on the cred. Definitely incredible, followed by heartfelt speculation that such a broad daylight shack of sin must have been located way out there to avoid jurisdictional enforcement. Maybe it had its own tiny county squeezed between two God-fearing counties, which speculation would then be punctuated by yet another pair of definitely incredibles, also punctuated by regret and fear at the prospect of entry to such a windowless den, which was, of course, beyond all rational comprehension at the time. We viewed a place like that the same as the legal poker parlors seen along the 101 when we eventually got to Fruit and Nut Land. Not for us. Even though we fancied ourselves not bad poker players, we knew we would be eaten alive by real poker sharks in those places, much as we knew we would never emerge from the ruination inside a country strip club. That club was located somewhere between Chattanooga and Nashville, by the way. It's probably got a Restoration Hardware on the site by now. Somewhere on the downslope beyond the Colorado Divide, but still short of swimming twice as fast as usual because of the buoyancy in the Great Salt Lake, and trying to count road runners along the roadside chaparral near Tokerville, not named after Alexis Duh if you're curious, Tokerville, Utah. Somewhere along that way, we formed a pact to discontinue use of the phrase definitely incredible, either in part or in whole. Those words were banished from conversation thenceforth, in the name, at the least, of ceasing a disturbing of the peace. This was also thought to contribute to the overall sanity inside the Dart and to allow for some modest resurrection of native awe. After all, you don't want to get to your first view of the Pacific Ocean having used up all your definitely incredibles. You may want to preserve your ability to experience stunned silence. Go ahead and think extraordinary, but keep it to yourself once in a while. Do not interrupt the moment for the other guy. If he doesn't see it, whatever it is, the civilized thing to do is point. Which leads us to the following event. We had camped in Lassen Park in Northern California, and I took a short walk solo on the shore of a big lake. A formation of 9 or 10 Canada geese came gliding by at speed only a few feet above the surface. Some of the geese were higher than others, which, if you think about it, is not the way it usually is. Those V's you see flying over are all in 2 dimensions for wing energy conservation, I think. So this was more like several little V's themselves flying in vertical formation. As they got opposite to me and only a few feet away, I realized the bottom bird was flying upside down. His wings stretched out from the lower part of his body, and his bill was pointed a bit upwards. The wide part of his cheek patch was above, not below. It was a circus trick, either played for my benefit or simply, I thought, out of pure glee. Now, if you consult Grok, it will inform you that Canada geese are not designed for, quote, inverted flight, unquote. And they can only execute short, unintentional rolls in the air. Of course, Grok also says that said geese can only submerge their beach ball buoyant selves for 1 or 2 seconds, usually when feeding at depth. Whereas I myself have seen fighting Canadas wholly submerged for 15-20 seconds and resurface well away from where they went down. Now, I understand the lift principles for bird and airplane wings, the rounded portion causing faster air velocity and less air pressure, thus an upward lift vector. But regular gliding birds can plane downwards or up at will, i.e., the gravity vector is easily joined or overcome. It seems obvious to me that an upside-down bird can dive upwards, just as a right-side-up bird can dive down. For some reason, my bird felt like flipping over to dive up properly, thus maintaining his position upside down in the formation. It's like a kid on a bike with no hands. Perhaps it was simple wilderness amusement. Or, of course, it could have been an illusion. I watched the formation disappear down the shore and noticed my buddy a ways down walking toward me. The geese flew right past him. I wondered if the bird was still upside down or if my buddy would notice. We walked towards each other, and as we met, we paused and chorused together one last simultaneous and glorious, definitely incredible. And that was the last one. By the time we got to the Bay Area, our minds had experienced wonder in a now properly constrained and adjudicated manner, and we were ready to embark on our respective journeys of collegiate enlightenment.